And then lastly, I want to give some special final shout-outs to this graduating senior class. I want to go one at a time, something I always like to do at the end of the season. We'll start with number 19, defender Ryan Wilson. Wilson, great multi-sport athlete. I'm looking forward to seeing him again in the spring with the boys lacrosse team. He provided such a good depth piece on defense, a quieter contributor on the ice than he is on the lacrosse field in the spring, but he plays that depth role so well. Plenty of great plays we've seen from him, even in this, quieter thing. He actually had a big play in the other Newton North game over at Ryan Arena back in January, as he had a big assist on a goal scored by Eitan Kate, as he had a big block in the neutral zone that led to a goal there. So even if a quieter role, he played his role so well and still had his fair share of big plays. Hats off to Ryan Wilson for a fine high school ice hockey career. Next, after that, let's stay on the defensive line for the moment, and let's talk about Dylan Katz. Dylan Katz, it's been such a pleasure to watch him grow his game, grow from, a lower line defenseman as a sophomore to one of the primary defensemen his junior year, seeing towards the end of that junior year as he started to take on more of a two-way playing style, being able to transition the puck from end to end, as that was a struggle for the team much of last year, as back then only Noah Gurdon seemed able to go two ways. Dylan Katz gained the confidence to go two ways towards the end of last season, and he showed it in spades throughout this year, his ability to contribute as a transition player as well as a top-notch defender. We saw plenty of defensive highlights from him throughout several seasons. He's certainly a player that's going to be missed on the defensive side for Brookline. Hats off to Dylan Katz, another player that I'm going to enjoy watching in the spring with the lacrosse team. Now we move back to the net as I want to talk about number 30, Jack O'Connor. O'Connor may have played only one period plus overtime today, but he has got plenty of plays that he can look back on with pride in this season. He's had plenty of strong showings in net, perhaps none stronger than that 50-plus save outing against Wellesley last year in the first home game of the year after the turn of the calendar into 2024. That's still one of the best goalie performances I think I've ever seen, period. And it was such a pleasure to get to watch, Jack O'Connor, switching back and forth in the platoon with Craig Haas over the past couple of years. And then, of course, platooning in-game with Evan Gerber today. He's always given that strong effort no matter what his role was coming in and out. Hats off to Jack O'Connor for a great career in net, and I'll look forward to seeing him again come lacrosse season because there's so much overlap with the hockey and lacrosse teams. Next, want to talk about number 10, Jace Gadan, a guy who has just gotten better and better with each season. Sophomore year wasn't getting as much playing time. Junior year started to work his way into the rotation as, kind of a depth piece on the second or third forward line. This year, such a big part of their offense from game to game, made so many big contributions, multiple hat tricks in this season. He had 3 goals in the season opener against King Philip, and of course, a crazy 4-goal performance in that 6-4 win against Newton North back in January. His growth on offense has truly been a sight to behold, and he's going to be missed on the offensive end for Brookline. And speaking of guys who are going to be missed on the offensive end, next let's talk about number 7, Connor Erdman. Erdman, another guy who's grown throughout the years, going from a depth piece to a premier option on offense for Brookline, and seeing him grow into that top option over the last couple of years has been so great. He's got plenty of offensive highlights that we can look back on with fondness. The biggest, of course, being that overtime game winner he had against Newton North last year at Walter Brown Arena, Certainly a memorable game, that one. And he's had plenty of big memorable moments, including his goal in today's game. One last home game goal for his high school hockey career. Hats off to Connor Erdman for a great ice hockey career of his own. Now let's talk about the senior co-captains. We'll start with number 9, Max Guo, who was given that C on his jersey midway through this season. And, certainly worthy of it with the way that he has, contributed with his great abilities to connect with his teammates throughout the years. He's shown such a wonderful ability to connect, whether it be sending passes or receiving passes. The synergy he's had with his line mates year in and year out has been incredible to watch. He's, again, another guy who went from, kind of a depth piece on that third forward line up to a real primary option and a big part of the offense. And, anytime a guy gets promoted to captain midway through the season, he really showed something in that new year that the coaches hadn't seen from him before. And it's just a perfect microcosm of the growth that Max Guo has shown throughout his hockey career. Hats off to Max Guo. Next, we'll talk about number 18, Thomas O'Brien. Another guy I'm looking forward to watching come lacrosse season in the spring, but also what a story for Thomas O'Brien. I don't know, those of you who remember a few years ago, he actually suffered a season-ending injury off the ice as he took a bad fall near his house, slipping on the ice. I think he split his head open and had to go to the hospital. And what he did to fight and get back on the ice, just perfectly emblematic of the toughness and the grit that this young man has on the ice. One of the most physical players for Brookline over the past couple of seasons, a big asset on defense, so many big hits, so many big stops defensively. He's been one of the big heart and soul players for this Brookline team, and he's going to be missed as a presence on the defense and as a captain. Hats off to Thomas O'Brien. And then lastly, for number 13, Grady Ames, and this is, amazingly, this is my 5th season saying goodbye to a player of the last name Ames. I mentioned Henry Ames in the live chat before, said goodbye to him last year on the soccer, hockey, and lacrosse fields. And now this year saying goodbye to his younger brother, Grady Ames, on the soccer field in the fall, and now the ice here in the winter. And boy, as a player that I've gotten to watch across so many sports, across so many seasons, him and his older brother, I have so many memories. Those of you who know, I had so much fun calling out his name, that Grady Ames that I would call whenever he would score. But then even as he took a less of a high-scoring role, going from a top forward option the past 2 years, really, as he really stepped up as a sophomore as a top goal scorer, and then once again as a junior. And the effort that he's shown, having shifted from forward to defense and being able to still contribute in a big way on the defensive side of the ice and to be able to go 2 ways in the transition game. His talent, second to none, really, as he's contributed all 4 years of his high school hockey career, and it's been such a privilege to watch him from start to finish. My hat's off to Grady Ames.